ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Sibongile Mthweni, and I will be your MC for this evening. This is Visionary Readers Book Club Review. Our values are rise, read, and transform. It's abbreviated ART. We normally say, arise and stand up for yourself, understanding that change begins from within. There is a beautiful quote that I love from Rumi that says, yesterday I was clever and I wanted to change the world. And today I am wise and I want to change myself. So it all begins with you. It all starts with you as an individual. If you want to impact your environment, your home, your community, your country, and then the world at large, understand that it starts with you. And then we also say art. The R part, it's read, 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 and read some more. Reading is the only thing that takes you to places that you have never been without paying a flight ticket, without you having to pack your luggage, without you having to spend money. You can be transformed to other worlds, to worlds that you could never have imagined had you not picked up that book to read. And the T stands for transform yourself first, then others. Like I said before, it all starts with you. You transform yourself, then you are able to take everybody with you to be elevated to a different height, to a different level that benefits our self-actualization according to Maslow's laws. There's an author that I like very much, Lisa Nicholson, who says that you have to go through that door first before you drag everybody with. Because a door, if you look at the door, at the dimensions of a door, it cannot take more than 2 or 3 people. An individual has to pass first through a door, and then you can come show the rest the way that you have taken to get where you are. So just to reiterate, the mission of our club, first we have a purpose. The purpose of our club is to encourage each and every member to read better and to read more books. The more books that we read, the better we become as human beings. We believe that reading is a basic foundation that is critical and necessary for our success and growth in life. Without reading, some of us wouldn't be where we are, because we got to learn about different things that we were never even taught at school. Had we not read those books and activated our imagination in traveling to those places that we've never even seen. And imagination is an important part of our human being because we are co-creators in nature. And our mission as a club is to promote a reading culture within the African continent and beyond. Our mission is to see each African home with a bookshelf. And as long as the bookshelf is bigger than the television screen, we are happy. Just for me to explain our agenda for today. We're going to have 4 reviews, and we are going to also have a guest speaker. So I'm going to start with the reviews, and I'm going to start with Andre Young to review a book titled The Untethered Soul. Over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Sibongile. Thank you, Sibongiseni, for having me to review the book. I was reminding myself, why did I choose to review this book? Why was it important in the context of this club? thinking about, planning the future with imagination or wisdom. And I went, wow, what book would I have to review to help us with looking at the future with wisdom, looking at the past with wisdom, looking at the present with wisdom? And I came up with this book, The Untethered Soul, by Michael Singer, A Journey Beyond Yourself. And when I first flighted the book to Sibongiseni, I said, I want to do it over different stages. I don't want to just do the book and rush through it, so that I could let it marinate for all of us that are interested in reading this book. So I want to start off, before I start talking, and just say, hands up, turn on your video, use the hands up key on the Zoom thing. Who's read this book? Who's reviewed this book on YouTube or done any inquiry into this book? And the reason I'm checking that is that I'm hoping that, having reviewed this thing and having built enough insight into what the book's about, that you will actually read it, that will achieve the art of Visionary Readers Book Club, that will actually read the book. So Frida, I see your hands up. You've read it. But really, we come to the crux of the book today, which is part 4 and 5, which I'm going to do in one very quickly. And this gentleman, Michael Singer, asks us to really look at what will it take to live life well. And that one big thing that he offers us in the book is to use death as a transformation experience whilst alive. And I hope you've seen the little video clip I put in the Visionary Readers Book Club WhatsApp group around, there's this flame, it comes inside of us, and it lives with us through this journey of life. And eventually, when this body dies, that flame continues. There's the future, there's the wisdom, there's the African Ubuntu. But really, death as a teacher on how to live now. Now, you'll remember in part 1, he talked about listening to the internal quiet self, going inside, letting go of the thoughts and emotions, letting go of the noise, the disturbances in part 3, the thorns on the inside, and allowing flow, allowing the experiences to come to us without being disturbed. And in the current world, we talk of disruption, without the disruptions from the outside, without the distractions from the outside. And in part 4, he starts talking about going beyond these limits we've put on ourselves, limits of our gender, limits of our race, limits of our upbringing or our social class, but just becoming truly quiet and understanding this identity that we truly are, a soul, untethered, unrestricted by all of the nonsense coming at us, disruptions, disturbances, and distraction, and really knowing that we are eternal, we will live forever in different versions of who we are. And I so wish that that was a thing we could take to the country, South Africa, because we are becoming tethered to a position, tethered to economic status, tethered to race, tethered to all the nonsense. But death must become the thing that guides us to live well, to be. With this intuition, with this imagination, with this visionary approach, which is why this book is so relevant in this book club. And one thing he goes on to say is to really see God. But what I liked about it was that he doesn't come at it from a religious perspective. He says, see you, the God, the real God that you are. See the self, that you are in this image of this purity, this light, this love, this joy, this happiness, and live with that inside out perspective in the way we see, in the way we think, in the way we do. And he says, be your authentic self, untethered, living on the body. And I really want to invite you to read this book. But I'll leave you with one last thing that I took as an insight from this book. You know, I do this with all of my friends. And if you ever get to have a cup of coffee with me, I'm going to do it with you. Beware. I'm going to ask you to do a check-in, a pious check-in. How are you physically? How are you intellectually? How are you emotionally? How are you spiritually? Tell me about you, the soul. Because I do this pious check-in every time I have a chat with people. I don't say, how are you? I say, how are you, pious? I took that from the book because it helps me to get rid of the thoughts, the emotions, the body I'm in, the race, the gender, the social class, all, and then say, oh, let me see this person. Umuntu, kumuntu, kabantu. I think Singer gives us the gift in this work to make that a habit in the way we live. And that's what I wanted to offer to the book club today.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Andre. I'm always inspired when I listen to you, and I love the pie check-in. You've taught me something that I can take back with me when I meet my loved ones going forward. Physically, how are you? Intellectually, how are you? Emotionally, how are you? And all of that to me translate to I see you. It's amazing how we don't see people every day, and we get shocked when people commit suicide, when we hear of a loved one committing suicide, because we never check on those levels. Instead, we only ask, how are you doing? But it also doesn't even have depth in it, you know, and it's easy for somebody to just say, oh, I'm fine, everything is okay. But we never go deep, we never deep dive to how they are actually doing. So thank you for that. That is a big thing. And as a mother of daughters, two daughters, I've got a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. And normally I have these conversations with them when I fetch them from school, you know, to say, I normally say, what was your highlight for the day? And what was your low light? Me trying to not just get a yes and no answer from them, to actually have an open-ended question where I could actually understand what they are going through from a day-to-day living at school, where I'm not there. I'm not present as a parent where I can control their circumstances. Thank you so much. If anyone has a question for Andre, we'll take one or two questions.
Thank you so much. So for me, Andre, once again, thank you for that review. For me, the question came from the video you shared just before the meeting as a preparation for your review, of course. At the end of that video, I saw something, okay, obviously it says we understand where our bodies go. And there was like a question with a question mark that was not answered in the video. It said, what happens to our soul? I was curious to find out, do you have an answer for that question?
You know, in his book, he describes it as going beyond what we think and feel into total silence.
Mm.
And I've had the opportunity to study spirituality at a university, at a world spiritual university. And what they've given me, which is something I hold on to now, and I came to that after my mom's death, and I was like 33 when she died, and it devastated me when my mom died. I mean, I was gutted. I was, like Spongile was saying, I was considering suicide. My mom was my mom. But then they gave me this gift to answer your question, that we go to the world of souls until we come back again. We go to this place where there is nothing but light and love. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. I am the energy on the inside. I am the flame. And then I went, oh, so my mom's actually just, to your T in art, she's just transformed. And I'm going to leave it there in a very simple answer. But when we have coffee, because I've invited you to one when I'm there, I'll take you into the depths of it. But we don't die. Our body dies. But the self never dies. And that left me with a lot of comfort to know that, oh, I do have eternal life.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andre, for that insight. And I can wait. I hope I am part of that coffee. Please do invite me. I would really, really love to be part of that coffee, because these are interesting discussions that I really, really like. Wendy T, please ask your question. And if you can, please open your video.
Yes, no, I did. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Because I've got earphones, so I never know if they're working or not. All right. So, Andre, thank you for that. I think I haven't seen your other reviews, so I just found out now that you've done other reviews. So you mentioned that the book has 5 parts. Is that correct? So it is quite a long book from what I'm gathering, which you have to take each part for what it is. Is each part broken down into different chapters? And how is it? It's quite comprehensive. It's something that you just need to time yourself before you can get into the book, because it sounded like there's quite a deep message around it. So I just want to ask, is there, I know books, you can read books, anytime you want to, but I think sounds like for me, this book needs you to really be in a space and mind to be ready, or do you think you can just jump into it? So that's the one question. And then the second question is, if you just summarize, so it says the untethered soul. So just untethered itself, just in 1 or 2 lines, if you can, what does that mean, the untethered soul, in just the 1 line, just for me to just sort of have a feeling about what to expect in those 5 parts? Thanks.
Freedom.
Freedom.
Autonomy.
Autonomy. Okay.
Unrestricted. Infinite. Expansive. Being.
So the unrestricted being, soul.
And I don't think that this is a book you should read when you're ready. I think you should read it tomorrow. I've read it 4
right now.
times. Life
Okay.
doesn't come with a manual, but if there was ever a manual, here's one by Michael Singer.
Okay. All right. Read it now. I get it. Thank you. Thanks, Andre.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you so much. So our next speaker will be Wendy Mashilwane. I haven't checked if Wendy is with us in this meeting. Will you please confirm, Dr. Sibu?
I just spoke.
Wendy T. There we go. Wendy, you are our next speaker, and you will be reviewing the Elite Productivity by Bekisisa Mngomane. Please come to the virtual podium and give us that review.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. And it's my pleasure to be here this evening. Let me just see if I can just place myself. See, well, sorry, I don't have our background. So if you can email it to me, then I'll be able to put it in future. Please, But anyway, so for today, the book I'm reviewing is Elite Productivity, but I don't know if you can see it, but it's basically a book by Bekisisa Mngomane, who's in our group, Visionary Readers, and he's also a Toastmasters. So that's how I met him, and that's how I got hold of his book. So it's a book that when he gave it to me, I sort of wasn't sure what it's about, right? Because the title is Elite Productivity. And he says how to increase your productivity with limited or dwindling resources. So it's sort of, if you read the subtitle, it sort of then explains to you, because if you're saying elite productivity, you won't know exactly what that means, but the title then actually tells you how to increase with dwindling resources. The book, I think, in my eyes, is one of the most practical books I've also read in a very long time, because sometimes you read a book and it's sort of maybe a bit theory and you're not sure how to apply it. But this book, I must say to you, he really goes down and gives you practical examples of how to increase your productivity. So for you to be an elite producer means you are able to use your time wisely, you are able to structure yourself, and then with that you become an elite producer. So if you look at the book, it's basically, I just made notes here, it's made up of about 9 chapters. The chapters, if you look at them, very, very well structured, easy to understand. The language is easy to understand, very practical. He uses experiences also from his life and then from his work that just bring the message across. And then when you're reading it, you do feel like it's talking to you, right? So some books you read, but you're not sure, is the person talking to me, or aren't they, or what, what's the message? But with this, you actually feel as if he's talking to you. He's like saying, hey, listen, Wendy, if you are sleeping, wake up, study. If you are not doing something productive, stop and do something productive. He actually makes you question yourself at every moment and every chapter and every part that you read. And I like also at the end of each chapter, he's got a summary. So if you read, you'll see at the end of each chapter, he summarizes what does he say? He just says recap. So he recaps the message in that chapter, which I thought was brilliant, because maybe if you just want to look back on what that chapter was about, you just go to the recap. So I love that about the book. So I've got a lot of favorite chapters, but let me just quickly read. I wrote 2 pages here that I just want to go through. So the first one is chapter 2, where he talks about, he says everyone has a monkey. So meaning that sometimes, so the one I remember is something like social media. So for example, you might find that instead of being productive and reading or doing your assignment or preparing for whatever, let's say you're doing a YouTube channel and preparing for that, you find that your monkey keeps you from doing what you're supposed to do. So he says we all have a monkey and we all have something that can take away our time, but you need to learn how to control that monkey, because if you don't control that monkey, it will control you. If you don't feed that monkey properly, accordingly, it will want to feed itself and take your time. So so I like how he just uses that analogy just for us to say we all have a monkey, yes, but don't let that monkey control you. So he talks about, for example, if let's say you're in your house, so he uses social media, for example. He's like, and the phone, he's like, if you're just sitting and every time you're on social media or you're checking your phone, it's like almost like when you're cleaning a house. He uses that analogy where he says you're cleaning a house, and then every time you're cleaning your house, there's a door knock, there's a door rings. Then every minute you go and open, you go and check what's happening there. You're not going to end up cleaning your house because you are busy going to check the door. That's what he means basically, social media and the phone. That if you're feeding that monkey all the time, you're going to be doing that the whole time, and then you're not productive anymore. So I found that quite interesting, and I found that he makes you question your habits, and then by questioning your habits, then you really will stop doing that. So what I do, for example, now, if let's say I want to look at my phone, I've now told myself, don't look at the phone every minute. Stop, do your task, and only when you finish your task, then you can do that. Maybe whether it's in the morning or evening or afternoon, but give yourself time. Don't just want to feed that habit or waste time on things that don't give you the time that you need, the productivity that you need, sorry. Then another chapter that is very good is he talks about manage your energy. So I'll just read, for example, he says, just a small paragraph. He says, always be careful of how and where you use your energy. Before you exert your energy on anything or anyone, ask yourself if it is adding any value to what you want, to what you are working towards. If it is not adding to or is taking any value away, it is not worth spending your energy on. So again, control your energy. If something is not aligning to your goals, to your objectives, or to help you achieve something, if it's taking away from you, don't spend time on it. So again, manage your energy is something that an elite producer would do. And then the last page I just want to read is at the end of the book, he talks about how to develop habits of an elite producer, right? So that you can be productive. And those habits, I'll just quickly read them high level. How to develop winning habits. The first one is start slow, find clarity, in what you want to do. Associate with elite producers. That's number 2. So associate with people that build you up. So, I mean, just like we're doing now as visionary readers, I believe we are associating with people that are helping us and encouraging us to be readers, right? So this is aligned to the vision that we have. Same like with anything else that you do, associate with people like that. Take time to build habits. So again, if you discover that this habit is not working for me, take time, say, okay, I need to fix this habit, and then take time to build that habit. The other thing he talks about in developing habits is make sure you start right. So if where you are, you're not starting right, you won't end up to where you want to be, right? So as you plan to say, what do I want to achieve? Start right by setting the right goals, by finding the clarity, by dealing with and putting in habits that will make sure that you get to the end of your goal. And then another thing he talks about, elite producers follow through on their commitments. So if you say you're going to do something, do it, commit to it, follow through with it. Don't take on too many commitments, because that can also then hinder your productivity. So you must say, what are the 3 things, for example, that I want to work on this week? And then focus on that, and then commit and make sure you do it. Then I think the last one that I'll just quickly read is they constantly seek feedback and evaluate their performance. So ask people, how am I doing? Do you find that the way I've delivered this works or it doesn't work? Please give me feedback. You evaluate your performance to say, okay, maybe this task I didn't do it so well. I need to improve on it better. So if you do that, again, you learn how to be maybe more productive, because maybe you learn that the process, the way you did something before didn't work, it was too long, or you didn't have the right resources. Then in future you prepare better. So I think just looking high level in terms of the habits that we have, those are some of the habits that he talks about. But the 9 chapters I said have a lot of information, but very practical. So yeah, go out and get the book. I think it's a worthy book for anybody that wants to achieve and to be productive, in anything they do, whether it's school, work, even if you're writing a book, anything. I think this book is a go-to. So yeah, that's just my summary. I don't know if I took more than the 5 minutes, but thank you. That ends my task. Thank you, Madam MC.
Thank you so much, Wendy. That is beautiful. I have read that book. And just to claim a bit of bragging rights, I grew up with Becky Sisa, so I know it quite well. Yes, we grew up in the dusty roads of Mamelodi together. And yes, I read that book as well. And I found that, when you spoke about the doing things that add value to it, I call it the VAVE acronym for myself, because I come from an engineering background. So it's value adding, value extracting activities. And yes, those monkeys, I found that when I read that part of the book, that I found so many monkeys. When I feel challenged mentally, I turn to say, I don't know. That's my first defense statement. Yes. I don't know how to do this. And then comes, I don't want to do this. And then comes, oh, maybe I can do it later. And then I would go and be on my social media or play a game for hours, even though I know that I've got something important I need to do. And that was my monkey. And I am still tackling that monkey to this day, to be honest. But yes, those nuggets are very productive and they are very helpful, but it's a continuous journey. I find that it's not something that you decide today you're going to do and you master it the following day. It takes practice every single day, because practice makes permanent.
Absolutely. Thanks. Thank you for adding to that.
So much. Thank you so much. I don't know if there's any questions. That you've done a great job in reading.
Okay, there's one hand from Andre.
Oh, there we go. Oh, Andre, there you go. Please go ahead.
So Wendy, what I'm thinking is, I haven't read his book, but you put it on my radar, and I see it as a wonderful opportunity to possibly source it as a gift for somebody. Help me to contextualize it in terms of other things you've read. What does it come close to? Does it come close to 7 Habits? Does it come close to Atomic Habits? What came to mind as you read his work as to a reference point for my reference? Because I haven't read his work yet.
I haven't read actually the books you've mentioned, but I'm thinking, and maybe Spongile help me, it could actually come close to those 2 books you've mentioned, because I've just seen high-level highlights of the Atomic Habits and 7 Habits of Effective People. It could be that, because for me, it's very practical, as I said. It's a book for somebody who's working on something, who just needs help to be more productive, to produce, to produce with the little that you have. So basically what he's trying to say is, evaluate your life. What you're doing, your habits, your thought patterns, where you're spending your time, where you're spending your energy, what you're thinking about. Evaluate all of that, and then find a plan and a what can I say, a map of how from where you are to where you want to get to. But you don't just get there without working on all of those things I just mentioned. So I can't think at the top of my head right now, but the two books that you mentioned, I think could probably come close. But I don't know, Sibongile, if there's there, because since you've read the book, if there's another book you can think of that can sort of talk to this book.
Yes,
Yeah.
Wendy, that is absolutely correct, Andre. It actually touches on the 7 habits of highly productive people. It does. What he points out is that nothing, I have friends who believe in the theory of randomness. And he says that nothing happens in random. You have to put in the work. You have to determine where you want to be, and then you will get there. Nothing happens in randomness. And there was a part that I liked where he said, and you mentioned it, Wendy, where he said, what you do determines, like, associate with yourself with I producers, which is what we are doing here. Because when you are the most intelligent person in your circle, then you have a problem, because that means you are not growing. And our nature is growth constantly. It's just that we are the only species in the world that can actually turn that off. A bamboo tree cannot turn off its growth. It will grow to the highest length that it needs to grow to. But human beings, because we have been given the choice to determine where we want to be, we can turn that off. Only the human species does not grow to the potential that it can grow to, because we have freedom of choice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andre.
Thanks for that. Thanks, Andre.
We'll go forward now with our program without wasting much time and call on our next speaker. Our next speaker is our very own Dr. Thembinkosi Mgolozeli, who will be reviewing a book titled A Guide to Reading by Janice Grommet. Janice Grommet by Dr. Thembinkosi Mgolozeli. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Madam MC. Good evening, everyone. With this book, when I saw the title, I was very curious to learn the art of reading, and it didn't disappoint. Before I dive into the book, I would like to remind some of you who might remember a book titled The Classic Education. So in The Classic Education, the author there spoke about the R which was forgotten. Initially, apparently, back in the days when education was invented, there were 4 R. So I'll say them briefly. Reading was the first one. Writing. Then arithmetic. Arithmetic is basically mathematics. Then the last one was rhetoric. So basically, these were the subjects, 4 key subjects during the classic education that were key from primary all the way up to high school. So basically, reading was a subject. Writing was a subject, just like mathematics, which is arithmetic, is basically a subject. Then the one that was completely taken out was rhetoric, presentation literacy. With this book now, I wanted to mention that part. I wanted to focus with the first one that is mentioned in the 4R, which is reading. It's not a subject as you might think, but we're taught how to read in our first grade. So basically, this book is a guide to how to read and why to read and what to read. So I've just mentioned, as our MC started, she spoke about art as basically our values in the Visionary Readers Book Club. But also art, I found out this author of this book used art, but as a different acronym. So here he says, the first thing you must get right as you are reading is your attitude. That's the first word for art, attitude. Then the second letter, which is R, stands for resilience. It's not easy to read. You need to be resilient in order to be efficient as a reader or to be an effective reader. So basically, that was the purpose of this book. What he's trying to say, he's saying we need to be efficient as readers. When you go into any book, we just need to be able to aim to learn not only how to read, but to be efficient and effective readers. Then the T stands for timing. He's also answering the question of what to read. Basically, this is something that is in line with what we're trying to preach in this book club. We're saying we do not discriminate in terms of genres. You can read as widely and as far as you can. Any genre you can think of, that is good, because the aim for now is just trying to get back to the basics. And the good part, according to this book, is the more you read across different genres, across different subjects, the more words you will know. The how part, that's where the interest is. And it's also tied to the timing. For instance, I'll talk about myself. I tend to be more focused in the morning. So he says you must maximize your reading time, or maybe schedule your time during those moments where you are mostly alert. Reading for leisure, it's okay. You can read at night because maybe you are doing the purpose of reading at that time is basically pastime or maybe for leisure. And I find that to be very effective in my own experience, because when you know why you are reading a book, maybe you are reading a book because there are some questions that you haven't been answered. Maybe you are interested in a particular topic, but no one else seems to be answering your questions. So when you read with the purpose or with the goal in mind, somehow the universe coordinate and orchestrate and give you, like, in a very mysterious way, a book that will basically answer the questions you've been having. And it starts with only, being able to schedule your reading time, as well as knowing exactly what you want to learn in that specific book. Also, it comes back to what I was saying. You can read across genres, but depending on what specific topic or what specific subject you want to improve in your life, then choose a book that is basically going to answer specifically those questions, or basically want to inform or expand your knowledge in that specific subject. I want to end off also in lines of reading widely and far as you can with the conclusion of the summary in this book. It's just one line that says, the more you read, the more you will want to read. The more interesting different subjects become. Those of you who are skeptical, try it and practice your reading in the process. The best of luck and keep at it. So it comes back to resilience. Just stay at the course. Read as far as you can, as wide as you can, but be resilient. Sometimes you'll go off schedule, but remember, if you're at the schedule, after you fail or you fall, being resilient means being able to bounce back and get on course. That way you will be able to read better, more, faster, even more efficient, as the author is basically trying to teach in this book. That's all from me, Madam MC. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sibo. That was interesting. That takes me again to the statement that I made, that all living things are genetically designed to grow to their potential. However, only human beings can mute that potential because we have the freedom of choice. A bamboo tree will grow to its highest potential. An oak tree will grow to its highest potential, and we need that resilience, like you said in the art abbreviation that you spoke about, and the attitude as well. And hence, I believe personally, as a mother, to expose children early on to these things, so that when they are adults, they remember the things that they were exposed to, and then they can choose what they want to do. Early exposure to me is very, very vital. Looking on the people that we have, I see Buitumelo has her hand up, or his hand up. Buitumelo, please ask your question. And also, if you can please put your video on, Buitumelo, would highly appreciate that.
It's great to be part of this discussion. I just wanted to understand if I'm reading and I'm coming across new words and also new, unfamiliar way of sentence construction. What do I do? Do I finish the whole chapter and go back? Do I highlight the new word and open a dictionary? Because now I feel like it's sort of takes my mojo away, my flow gets disturbed as I was reading. How do I handle all that? I believe maybe that book lines out how to handle such, because I wouldn't know if I should highlight the sentence constructions that I'm unfamiliar with, and then highlight the new words, and then must I go back, or must I write there in the take a dictionary? If you could just be enlightened in that area.
That's a very good question, Dumelo. Yes. Over to you. I'll comment after you, Dr. Sibu.
Okay, I will try. I think you've answered yourself partly to what I would answer your question. I remember reading an autobiography of Malcolm X. What I learned about him before he became that superpower, like an activist, well-known activist in the US, he was someone who dropped out of school, I think from grade 3 or 4. So what happened was he went into prison after committing crimes or whatever, but in prison, their prison had a library, right? So he was advised by his friend who was basically very articulate. And he was so jealous when they are in this group gathering in prison, trying to find out. He was curious to find out from this particular friend, how did you become so fluent in English? And the advice of this friend to Malcolm X was, he read voraciously. He's an avid reader. And Malcolm X, considering the fact that he dropped out, I think, grade 5 or grade 6, and always like, I don't like books, I don't know words, I can't read. The friend said, go to the library, start with the dictionary, read the dictionary. And when you read the dictionary, you'll be aware of some words. And then when that happens, try to read books that are easier to understand. And even if the books are easy to understand, there will still be some words that will basically challenge you to find the meaning, to understand the context of the book. So to answer your question, yes, you can start by consulting the dictionary, then make sense of that particular paragraph or chapter you are trying to read. Then you can still be patient with yourself. The goal is basically to understand what the book is saying. And for you to understand or to comprehend, even to remember what the book or the chapter was all about, it's all about basically understanding context. So just take it one step at a time, understand the words so you can understand the context. The dictionary, I found it to be very useful. Malcolm X even went to a point whereby to cement the meanings and the words of those words into his mind, he copied the dictionary borrowed in that library in prison, word for word, even acronyms and synonyms. He even said, even exclamation marks. That's why he became eventually so articulate, as some of you might know, because he credited all his being able to be articulate himself the way he does to dictionary, and also eventually to the amount of books he has read, thanks to a friend who advised him, which he met in prison. That's all I can say I can think of now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sibu. Yes, that's what I was taught in high school when I was at the Deutsche Schule Pretoria, that when you read a book, you take the word and you look it up in the dictionary and you write it down. So we had to have a different book where we were writing our vocabulary in and the meaning of that word. And once you are done with the chapter, and then you go read it with a full understanding of what the meaning of the words that you did not know were, so that when you read it the second time, you read it with comprehension and you read it with understanding, and then you are able to apply it in your life. And then we were encouraged to then start using those words in our daily vocabulary as well, to cement them in your head, to make sure that you are able to use them and increase your English vocabulary, because English is absolutely not our mother tongue. So yeah, I hope you are answered, Boitumelo.
Yes, partly, not with the sentence construction, because sometimes you read a sentence, but the words are not new, but you sort of not get the context or the meaning, but you don't know how to unpack it.
I think my advice on that will be to Google it. As well. I found that helped me a lot when I'm not understanding, because I also what I understand about sentence construction as well is understanding the context of what is being spoken about at that time, because certain words would not mean the same thing in different contexts. So that has helped me a lot. When I understand the context, then I am able to understand the sentence construction, because then it drives the message through when the context is clear. And normally it's different when the context is different. I hope that helps you. I don't know if you have anything to add, Dr. Sibo.
Maybe to add on that, I believe, as writers, some writers, they pay attention, they abide by the rules of sentence construction. The things as the subject, the verbs, and the noun, adjectives, and so forth. Sometimes you might be confused, Boitumelo, because the author of the book you are reading did not pay attention to those sentence construction rules. So if that is the case, then it's easier for the reader to get lost or even not understand completely what the sentence is saying, or even in a bigger picture, what is the context of that whole section or paragraph. So that is basically the challenge sometimes. That's why even a well-experienced readers, actually, if you're a well-experienced reader, you tend to pick up the challenge. You even have the tendency to even edit what has been published already as an editor, because this sentence, if this word was in this position, or maybe it was put last, it will sound better. So that's what I would think for at this point.
Yeah, Boitumelo, if I could add something to what Sibongiseni and Sibongile has said. And Boitumelo, before I answer, could you turn on your camera and just let me understand your surname so I know who I'm talking to, because Boitumelo M could be anybody. Who am I talking to?
Boitumelo Mkhadingwane.
Okay, right now. So now we've got it, right? So Boitumelo, I had the task of helping 4 of my offspring, that is children, in other words, but they're now adults. So I use the word offspring because they're not children anymore. 4 of my offspring with this reading thing, né? And 2, the boys, they struggled with this thing called sentence construction. The girls, I found they were quite easy, but the boys, I don't know, maybe they were just slow. But anyway, to help them, I would ask them to read it to me, and then we would start a dialogue. And this is the one thing I wanted to ask Sibongiseni in his book, and as a follow-up question. Reading is sometimes something we try to do alone, yet it's meant to be a partnering activity. It's most enjoyed when, I still read to my wife in bed. She says, "You read it to me." I go, listen to me. And then now I see after many years, she's starting to read back to me. Don't do it alone.
Okay.
Find somebody that you can share it with. Because I think as I hear you, and as I hear the 2 colleagues' advice, sound, but just add a partner, man.
That's so true. That's so true, Andre, because I also read to my daughters. Thank you so much. I also read to my daughters sometimes, and I ask them to read to me so that we can get the context and the comprehension of what we are reading together. Because sometimes when you don't have a partner that you can, I call it a sounding board, when you don't understand certain things, and they might be able to fill in the gaps that you have. So yeah, that's a beautiful advice.
Also,
yeah,
that's correct. Also, the author of this book, he emphasized the importance of reading aloud. Remember, if you only know words, from books, pronunciation now, when you want to use that word in a conversation, you might mispronounce it. But the advantage of reading it to someone, as Andre is advising, is that if that person you are reading to knows how to pronounce the words, you get to learn together by correcting each other in terms of pronouncing the words you have learned, even new words, in a right way. So also, I hope I've mentioned that also the benefits now of reading to your kids or to your friends. There's a research that shows that it creates a very solid bond between family, or maybe between parents and kids, because when you read to each other, there's a very mysterious bond that is being created that keeps the family together, because you have that relationship where you learn together, where it's safe to grow together as a family, to learn new things together. So I enjoy that part also of having to read to your kids or maybe to your partner or whatever the case may be. I also see one last question. I see Wendy also asked where to get the book. So Wendy, you might know there's this second-hand bookshop in Johannesburg that I usually visit. I haven't seen this book anywhere else, but that's where I got this copy from. I haven't even searched online to see if it's available on Amazon, but I'll search, and maybe if I find it, I'll share on the WhatsApp group. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sibu. Without wasting time, let us go to our fourth and last speaker in this book review. That is Thembinkosi Ndlovu. And Thembinkosi is, let me read his bio exactly the way he sent it to me so that I don't miss a single word. He's a child of the Most High God, a husband, a father, a brother, an author, a very enthusiastic leader, an athlete, inventor, agripreneur, and a Toastmaster. He is an immediate past president of Open Society Toastmasters Club and currently serving as Area 6 Area Director of Toastmasters Southern Africa. He is currently working on chartering a new club called Great Impact Toastmasters Club to impact communities with effective communication skills and working towards becoming a distinguished Toastmaster. Thembinkosi is the CEO of Ngonyama Agribusiness, which has interests in agriculture, farming, and business and agribusiness. He is the CEO of Future Harvest Properties, a property investment management and development. Thembinkosi is a published author of a book titled Unchain Your Unlimited Power. Empower yourself with mind-blowing information that will empower you and change your life forever. This is a well-balanced non-fiction book and is a powerful tool for any person, especially a young person, to get to empower and set free the chains of ignorance. Thembinkosi, over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I don't think I have to continue with my review because you've just read everything that I'm about to say. Thank you for this opportunity. Without any wasting of time, as you've said, my name is Thembinkosi Ndlovu. I'm an author of this book, just to show that it's really me. I just came across something online, I think on social media, where it says, a reader lives 1,000 lives. A non-reader lives one life. I found that to be so profound because indeed, when you read and read a lot, you live different lives and you go to places that you've never been, like our MC have said. All right. Why I wrote this book? I wrote this book specifically for young people. I believe the say that says the battle is in the mind. Unchain your unlimited brain power. I believe that we are unlimited. Our brain have no limit and have power to transform our lives, to transform our lives for better. And therefore, if our minds and our brains are chained by ignorance, then we are not able to succeed and to transform our lives. There's a say that says that is said by Ndlovu, whom I love very much. He says, garbage in, garbage stays, which means what we put in our brain stays in our brain. And he says that you must you must select what you put in your brain, because it will stay and it will have an after effect, and it will, at some stage, it will make you act or form a habit, which is so true, because if you read good stuff, you tend to act on those things, because if you read to implement what you've read. So my book, as I've said in my bio, is a well-balanced book. What do I mean by balanced book? It deals with a person. We know that a person is a spirit being. I'm a Christian, so I'll just explain what I know. We are spirit beings. We have a soul, which is made up of a will, emotions, and mind. And we live in a body. So my book is balanced in a way that it deals with all these spheres of your life. The first chapter in my book says, discover yourself. And I stole some of the things from Dr. Miles Monroe, who asks just 5 questions. And he says these 5 questions, form part of your life. If you are not able to answer these 5 questions that he mentions, and he says your life has no direction. And he asks just simple questions like, who are you as a person? That question is not a question of ethnicity or a question of your color of the skin, but it asks you, who are you? Your origin. And he goes further to ask a question, where are you from? A question of your source. He continues and asks a question, why are you here? The purpose. 4th question, he says, what can you do? Which means, what is your capability? And then he asked, what's your destiny? Where are you going? So my first chapter of this book deals with that. And I make reference to the Bible because I'm a Bible reader. I'm a Bible scholar myself. I'll just stop there, but that's the first chapter. It deals with yourself, discovering yourself as a person. And I'll just pick, it's a 13-chapter book with 162 pages. It's not a long book, but I'll just pick other books, or maybe I'll just read the headings of those chapters, but I won't go through them. But I'll just pick 2 more, and then I'll wrap up. One of the chapters talks about the habits and how to break habits. The other one, to acquire true knowledge, because there is information available, but whether the information is true or not, you need to know. There's a book that I like very much by Dr. Theo Walmerens, which talks about the power of a decision. And in that book, he talks about head knowledge, and he talks about heart knowledge. And as Christians, we believe in heart knowledge, not in sense knowledge, because your senses sometimes can mislead you. Okay, and then I talk about developing a winning mindset and positive attitude. I talk about financial literacy, which I like very much. It was mentioned before here. And I go deeper in that. I make a narrative or an analogy of a young man. His name is Trevor. And and he goes through stages of life where he makes a lot of mistakes, like buying fancy cars instead of buying property, and I deal with that and explain the shortfalls of doing that, and so many other things like savings and investment. I go deeper in those things in that chapter. And I talk about, in another chapter, I talk about ideas are a source of your wealth. We know that there's a say that says the richest place in the world is in a cemetery, because that's where ideas lies. There are many people that go to the grave with their ideas without being implemented. So I dive into deeper details in terms of how we can use our ideas and the ideas that are available to make our lives better. And there's another chapter about how your skill can sustain you, because we know that there's a problem with unemployment, and our skills, we can apply our skills to make income for us and to transform those skills into money, into income. So I write about that I wrote about that in that book as well. So that's why I'm saying it's a well-balanced book, but it's good for a young person who's still at an early stage of a career or in business, to make informed decisions about those things. And yeah, you can get my book from my online shop, which is www.shophouse.co.za, or you can drop me a message or WhatsApp, and then the book can be delivered to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you so much, Thembinkosi. Wow, that is a very interesting book. Please, I would like to have a copy. Just listening to how you reviewed your book, when you said garbage in, my mind went garbage out, because I'm a systems person. But when you say garbage stays, that was very profound for me, because a belief is a story that we keep repeating in our heads, and beliefs can be changed, you know. So that talked to me. That's what I heard when you went on to review your book. And I loved the questions that you asked. Who are you? What's your purpose? Where are you going? Are you equipped to get to where you are? So those were profound questions that I cannot wait to read your book, for me to ask the same questions to myself and see what comes out at the end of the day. You know, the power of decision. I've always heard my life coach say to me, head knowledge, and I never really understood where the context of head knowledge comes from. So I'm eager to find that out. Now I see we have a hand. Andre's got a hand. Andre, do you have a question?
I'm flying here after Thembinkosi's introduction of his book. I'm flying. Whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, you know, I've read many books on the brain, Thembinkosi. Most certainly, I brought this one. This is my favorite read, but it's written by an American. So, you know, I'm so proud an African has taken a crack at this beautiful story. Yeah, no. I can't find you in the Visionary Readers WhatsApp group, and I can't find you on LinkedIn. So maybe you must just pop me a message. I'm in that group there. But to have an African context and an African writer beginning to take on the subject for Africans is, for me, whoa, yes, Baba. Yes, Baba. I found you on LinkedIn, so on YouTube with some videos then, comrades, and I went, no, that's not enough. I need to know more. But please, maybe connect. Congratulations. Well done. Hela.
Woohoo!
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Andre. Thanks for that sharing of Thembinkosi. Awesome. We love it when we have our own African authors that can delve deep. Because remember, the story of the lion is written in the perspective of the hunter. If only the lion could write its story, I'm sure we would all have a different story about the lion. Thank you so much, Thembinkosi, for that. I will wait to see if we have any more. Thank you so much, Dr. Sibu. I will hand over back to you to close out our session.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam MC. I just added our guest speaker, Thembinkosi, to our WhatsApp group so that he can share those details, the website, as well as the amount of the cost of the book, basically, for the benefits of those visionaries who couldn't attend the meeting tonight, in case they see this recording and then are interested in getting the copy as well. Otherwise, thank you so much, everyone. First and foremost to you, Madam MC. We are running off our time. I think this is the record ever to be 17 to 18 minutes late, but not to extend. Of course, I just have one announcement. As usual, our meetings are monthly, every last Sunday of the month. And also we're starting at 6 until 7 p.m. So always try to stick within 1 hour. We call it the magic hour, this meeting. So thank you once again, Madam MC, and of course to everyone who participated, and also special thanks to our guest speaker to come and review his book. Thank you so much, everyone, and also to you, the participants, for your questions and for joining us this evening. Until we meet again in the next meeting in August, have yourself a lovely evening. Thank you so much.